Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Nick Demetto here, the State Member for Hinchinbrook, but also your Deputy Leader of the Katters Australian Party. And today we're here for the Katters Australian Party recap. It's the 25th of November, Friday, and it's great to have you all tuning in and listening to see what Katters Australian Party MPs have been up to this week. So this week, Bob's been busy and he attended the Ag Force AGM as well as headed out to Mount Isa for a couple of constituent catch-ups and school catch-ups while he was out there. Bob, while he was also in Mount Isa, he got to catch up with St. Joseph College students, and the kids had an absolute blast catching up with Bob Katter, hearing some of his stories. And while he was in Mount Isa, Bob also got a chance to head over to the Mount Isa TAFE, where he got to chat with not only staff but students there about the skill sets that they're learning to make sure that Queensland and regional Queensland has the skill sets and workers for the future. Bob, while he was in Parliament this week, made a speech making strong criticism of the federal government's decision to scrap the 88 days required for UK students and backpackers to extend their visa or working in Queensland. Originally, the policy objective was this: to make sure that regional Queensland had workers, whether it was picking fruit or working on farms during farm stays. The 88 days has now been scrapped, and it indicates that this federal government is more interested about making sure we've got baristas for the city. They're making sure that there's farmers that have got an ability to get that food onto their plate.
Madam Speaker, it's unbelievable to me that the government, when they knew, the last government, that if they proceeded with this bill, it would put the country areas at an enormous disadvantage. The people in this place, quite rightly, put in previous agreements as far as backpackers coming to Australia, they had to serve time in country areas. Now, what you've done here is effectively take out the United Kingdom areas completely. They vanish because there's no way they're going to go to a place they've never heard of before in their life when they can go to Sydney and hang around on Bondi Beach.
Robbie Katter, while heading around the Traeger electorate this week, has been doing what a lot of the MPs do this time of year, and that's attend school functions, graduations and awards nights. And he was actually able to head out to Mount Isa's special school, which is pretty important for Robbie. He loves getting out there and making sure that the Spinifex High School students also in Mount Isa were supported as they went through their graduation and their awards night. Robbie Katter has also called out the state government on this boom and bust renewable energies industry that they're creating at the moment. And after receiving some answers through a question or notice from the minister, he asked a question asking exactly how many jobs have been created out of the billions of dollars spent making sure that Queensland has a renewable future. Out of the billions of dollars spent, ladies and gentlemen, they've created 446 full-time jobs. This is atrocious. And what we've actually seen out the back end of this is not only not very many sustainable new jobs, but also a cost in electricity prices to the end user. That's you and me paying extra on our power bill. You may have heard an announcement last week from the state and federal government giving CopperString 2.0 the green light, but still not one single answer has been returned on when construction will start on this important project. For those that don't understand the CopperString 2.0 project, Robbie Katter has been advocating for this for a number of years, and it's all about hooking up the Northwest Mineral Province, Mount Isa, to the national electricity grid here on the coast in Queensland. This does a number of things. It creates an opportunity for an energy corridor between here and Mount Isa, but also ensures that people in the Northwest Mineral Province are paying the same electricity prices as we are here on the coast. Robbie Katter and myself met with Green Shirts members this week, as well as Peter Ridd, Professor Peter Ridd, who is seeking to set up an Office of Science Review. Now, this is about checking the science when it comes to any science that is being used to make sure that state governments that are changing regulations that affect industry are using the best available science that's out there at the time, and it's being properly reviewed to make sure that it is credible.
You could say that you're not quite saying they're wrong in that process. You're just saying I think it should be have some quality assurance.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm quite happy to accept that on many things there'll be good quality assured science where I'm uneasy about it. I think they may be wrong. But if it's gone through a process where I think that, all right, they have reviewed it properly, they've repeated the experiments, they have got a genuine, a red team and a blue team battling it out rather than forming groupthink and people being scared to speak up. If it's gone through a proper process, I'm happy to say, look, I disagree with this, but I accept that a due process has happened. Like the legal thing, I lost, all right? But there was a proper process, and I now accept, well, that was the law. The same is in science. But the fact is there isn't a proper process.
If you haven't checked it out yet, Robbie Katter has dropped another one of his podcasts through the Katter's Australian Party Facebook page and YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to this yet on YouTube, check it out. The link will be below. But Robbie Katter did a great interview this week where he was talking about the people versus the Australian Big Four banks and the importance of Queensland or even Australia setting up a national banking scheme so that we can make sure that Queenslanders and Australians are getting the best deal when it comes to loans. And there's loans available for those wanting to develop in regional Queensland. Shane Knuth has been in the most important place, and that's where the rubber hits the road in the Hill electorate. He's been, I actually was quite envious of Shane Knuth on the weekend. He got to attend the Tully Bulls and Bikes ride, and I would have loved to have been out there on a bull, one of those bucking bulls once again, raising money for charity. But Shane got out there and he mixed it with the Cowboys and got out there and checked out the motocross guys while they're doing their freestyle stunts. Seemed like he was having an absolute blast on Saturday. On Monday, Shane Knuth teamed up with the Atherton's Lions Club to promote their big Christmas raffle that they hold every year. Now, anyone that wants to get out there and buy a ticket to support Lions and also have a chance to win a $1,000 voucher needs to get into the Tully Discount Drugstore to purchase a ticket. On Wednesday, Shane Knuth got up to the Tully Support Centre for their grand opening of their new building. He made a speech on behalf of the Katter's Australian Party and myself to not only congratulate the organisation but the volunteers and every one of those community advocates that have worked to make sure this project was seen through to fruition. It'd be great to see the continued work of the Tully Support Centre into the future because of this new premises. On Thursday this week, Shane Knuth was in Malanda for their Malanda Shop Local Christmas Street Festival. He also spent some time with the Nashos for their Christmas lunch. Great to catch up with those national servicemen, but also supporting the local business community. Good work, Shane Knuth. Next week, Shane Knuth, Robbie Katter and myself will be heading back down for the final sitting week of Parliament, and we're expecting some fireworks down there, ladies and gentlemen. But before we head back, I'll let you know what I've done this week while heading around the Hinchinbrook electorate, but also heading down to Brisbane. I had a chance to get up to Abergarie this week to the state school. Every year I head up there for the Premier's Reading Challenge to hand out their awards. And it's so important to make sure that these kids are learning how to read properly. If you can't learn, if you don't get a chance to learn how to read, it really can hold you back in life. And this afternoon I'll be heading to Forest Beach to hand out the awards at Forest Beach State School for the Reading Challenge as well. Good work to every one of those kids that entered and participated. On Wednesday this week, I flew all the way to Brisbane and joined Townsville Hospital Health Service Chair Tony Mooney to meet with the Health Minister's office in regards to the need for the Ingham Hospital to have a CT scanner installed. It's so important that local doctors and nurses have the right medical equipment available when someone presents with stroke-like symptoms or a head injury to reduce the amount of time it takes to recover and also make sure that people are being administered the right medical attention and drugs at a timely manner. This week, the state government dropped another damning report, and this one was in the Queensland Police Service's response to domestic violence. And this report has a number of recommendations, and one of the recommendations there is pretty vital. They're saying no longer will QPS officers be investigating police here in Queensland. But funnily enough, an independent board will be set up to do this job, but it will be set up by the Deputy Commissioner, who is, funnily enough, a police officer. So we'll see how independent this board actually is. But a big question over the Commissioner's head right now is, would the Commissioner still have a job if she wasn't a woman? People have been asking that question because there's been some pretty sexist statements made by the State Premier in regards to why this person will keep her role. This week I was actually able to represent Bob Catter in front of the media in his absence while he was in Parliament on the issue of the backpacker rules for the UK backpackers and the farm stay requirements. So no longer, like I said earlier, will UK backpackers be required to spend 88 days on farm stays or in regional Queensland, which is going to hurt the agricultural industry significantly. We've relied on those backpackers as a transient workforce over the years when it comes to fruit picking, and I think that's a huge opportunity that's being lost here by a federal government that simply doesn't care about regional Queensland. We've got city people that are more concerned about filling their cafes full of baristas rather than worrying about where the food comes from to put on their table. Well, that's the end of the Katter's Australian Party recap for the 25th of November, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I find it a great pleasure being able to share with you every week exactly what Katter's Australian Party MPs have been up to, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Cheers.